Shout out to Jason Burns, Graphic Browns, for that awesome intro video right there. Now, welcome into the Cleveland Browns report. It is the middle of June. Things are slowing down a bit, but you know what? There's always something to talk about when it comes to the Brownies. So let's start today's show off by talking about Jerome Ford and whether or not Browns fans should go out and buy all the Jerome Ford stock they can get their hands on. I'm going to give this one 3 Bernie heads. I think there is something to Jerome Ford being a bit underappreciated and flying under the radar because we did not see him much last year. He had a lot of usage in special teams as a kick returner, but actually lining up in offense, just 14 snaps, I believe, 8 carries for 12 yards for the former 5th-round pick out of Cincinnati. Now, the reason why there is some stock or there is some buzz going on behind Jerome Ford was he had some great flashes in special teams last year. He had that nice kick return against the Jets, if I recall correctly. But now he is in line to be Kareem Hunt, to be this team's second running back. And some fans, and I can understand why, are a little bit hesitant to turn that over in a make-or-break season with so much on the line and so many chips in the middle for an untested running back. If there is one person's word who you should value, it's probably one of the best running back coaches in the NFL, Stump Mitchell. Here's what Stump said on Jerome Ford. Jerome's got a skill set that allows him to do anything and everything. Pass protection, we worked a lot on this spring, so that was really the only thing we didn't have a good handle on because he didn't do it a lot in college. I think Jerome Ford is going to surprise people in a lot of ways, in a good way, most importantly, though. But for just 10 seconds, can we all at least enjoy the fact that we are going into a Cleveland Browns season, and the biggest question mark on this roster is the backup running back? That is how loaded Andrew Berry has made this roster that we have to split hairs and go at each other's throats on Twitter in the comment section over who's got the right to back up Nick Chubb, right? That is where we are at right now. And I am more confident in Jerome Ford than other people. He was great in the preseason last year, if you recall. And now that we're going to get a bigger dosage of him, sure, I can see why some people might want to lean back to a veteran who's done it before, and it'd be a lot more fun to have a notable name back there. But everyone's going to know Jerome Ford's name after a couple of weeks. That much I am sure of. Jerome Ford in college for the Bearcats, if you don't remember, he was awesome, right? He helped him get to the college football playoffs. He was originally a big-time recruit. 1,300 yards, 6.1 yards per carry on average, and 19 touchdowns. So it's been a while since we looked at Jerome Ford coming out of college, but the Browns were super excited when they found him in the 5th round for a reason, because they saw a future with him after his rookie season as a Kareem Hunt replacement. Now the time has come for that. I don't think you have to just abandon ship because the moment is here and you're a bit nervous. Andrew Berry also talked about Jerome Ford. Here's what he said. One of the things that drew us to Jerome throughout last year's draft process is his ability in the passing game. And he will certainly have opportunities going into his second year to potentially showcase those skills on a more extended level. Exactly. The passing game. The one thing that Nick Chubb doesn't excel at as a running back. This is your Kareem Hunt replacement. What was Kareem Hunt's job with the Browns? It was more than just being a third down passing option. He ran the ball a lot more and in between the tackles than your average NFL fan would think. But this is your Kareem Hunt replacement, right? We're constantly talking about who can be this team's backup running back. How about the current backup running back? I think Jerome Ford is going to do a great job as the RB2 this year. Now, unless he has a very disappointing training camp, he is going to retain this position in my prediction. Now, with that being said, name a random Browns running back. Has to be like Terrence West random, right? Can't go too mainstream. I'm going to rule out Nick Chubb and Jim Brown. Like, you just can't go for the big names. Has to be someone who was with the Browns for a couple of years and had some good moments. In 3 to 4 years, Dearness Johnson will be an awesome random Browns running back. Second story on the docket today is David Bell getting cut. I'm giving this fake news. I'm giving this story, this idea, fake news. It's been circulating all over Browns Twitter. I believe it was Zach Jackson who had him missing in his 53-man roster projection, the final roster. So we're talking about last year's third-round pick out of Purdue, who we didn't see a whole lot of in his rookie season. The Browns, one, were not trying to air out the ball under Jacoby Brissett. They were a top 5 rushing teams in terms of carries and whatnot. That was their focus. So when you're not an air raid offense with Jacoby Brissett, you're probably not going to get your wide receiver 3/4 a ton of targets. Now, when you look at Cleveland's wide receiver room, there's not a lot of wiggle room, right? Cooper, DPJ, Moore, Goodwin, Tillman, they are all locks to make this roster, and we'll go in depth on it later on. But for a guy that comes off a 24 grab, 214-yard rookie season, sure, that might not be the most encouraging numbers, but they're not moving on from a third-round pick after one season who wasn't bad last year. He just didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to showcase what he could do, and he was just a rookie. When are rookies supposed to be a fully grown product in their first season? So we're bailing on him after 1 year when he was in an offense that didn't get him a lot of looks to begin with. And when he did get looks, it wasn't bad. He had some nice catches. Sure, he had some drops here or there, but David Bell was not an issue on this team last year. Now, we have more on this in just a moment, but first things first, make sure you get your hands on these Browns polos. Mine are in the mail right now. Can't wait to wear them for you guys once they arrive, but go to chatsports.com/Browns polo. Petey's polos are an iconic staple of the Browns Report, and if you want to be rocking your own Cleveland Browns polo, use that link at the bottom of the screen. It's also in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, if I had to project who the 7 wide receivers are that make this roster, and I think there will be 7, Amari Cooper, DPJ, Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin, Cedric Tillman, they are all locks. They are going to make this roster. The only way they do not is if they unfortunately get injured, and that just opens up an extra spot. So now we look at 6 through 7. Now, some teams only take 6 wide receivers, some take 7. I think Cleveland is going to take 7. Otherwise, I don't think they would have invested this much in the room just to move on from someone that they recently acquired. So David Bell, and I think Jakeem Grant makes this roster. Jalen Darden is my first one out. If an injury were to happen to any of the 7 players above him, he would swap in. Or if he proves to be a better special teamer than Jakeem Grant during the preseason, him and Grant would swap spots. But for now, these are my 7 projected receivers to make the roster. Now, we have more coverage on this in just a moment, but we are almost at 20,000 subscribers. It's been an awesome journey to this milestone. No signs of slowing down or anything like that, but we are 64 subscribers away. 64 people watching right now who have not subscribed. Lock yourself in for the best free Browns content out there. Third story on the show. Should the Browns sign Yannick Ngakoue? Are the Browns going to sign Yannick Ngakoue? I'm giving this one Bernie head. I think it has a little bit more legs than David Bell getting cut, so I'm going to upgrade it a little bit. But Yannick Ngakoue was included in an article by Heavy.com, which that kind of says it all right there. That the Browns should sign Yannick Ngakoue, and I'll go through the logic why, because I think there is some merit to the idea. I just don't think it's likely, right? This is separating what I would do and what I think the Browns will do. Now, ESPN recently came out with an article with the top free agents remaining, and Yannick Ngakoue was number 1 on it. You can see why. He's never gone below 8 sacks in his entire NFL career. Now, the question is, why is Yannick Ngakoue a free agent? Why is he unsigned midway through June for a guy that's coming off a 9.5 sack season and he's not pushing 35 years old? I don't have a good answer for you other than he is asking for a ridiculous amount of money, or teams just don't want a guy who doesn't want to stop the run. But still, I don't care if he doesn't want to stop the run. If he gets 9.5 sacks, that's good enough for me. Now, the Browns have made a lot of moves at edge rusher, but I am here to remind you, we are talking about Andrew Berry. So nothing ever seems off the table when it comes to Andrew Berry. He struck and got Amari Cooper. You got this guy named Deshaun Watson, Elijah Moore. And then when we thought the defensive line was good to go, he said, excuse me, let me call my old friend Kwesi Adofo up in Minneapolis and let's get Zadarius Smith because why not, right? I feel like he just watched draft day and he's like, I want David goddamn Putney too. Well, what if Yannick Ngakoue is his David Putney? I don't know. But Heavy.com did outline a fair point for the Browns going after Ngakoue, where they said, but Cleveland doesn't need Ngakoue to set the edge the way Jadeveon Clowney could, or the way the Browns believe Ogbo can after inking him to a 3-year deal. I was not going to try to pronounce that. Were the team to sign Ngakoue, it would be solely as a pass rush specialist. So I see the logic of you have Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes standing in your way of reaching the Super Bowl. You have to get after the quarterback if you want to be successful in the AFC during this era. So if you want to just sign Ngakoue to purely rush the quarterback and not ask him to be a run stopper, which is the weakest part of his game, and go, hey, on third down, we're going to turn you loose, which they're kind of running out of roster spots to give out to turn guys loose on third down. They already have Zadarius Smith, Okoronkwo, and Myles Garrett, and Dalvin Tomlinson. I would suspect those would be your third and long pass rushers. But if you wanted to add another player to the rotation, Ngakoue definitely doesn't hurt this team. At the same time, I just think this one's a bit too rich for Cleveland. Andrew Berry wants to roll money over to the cap next year, where they are very much in the red right now. Over the cap has them at negative $59 million. Spotrac has them like negative $80 million. Don't ask me the difference. But Andrew Berry knows he has to at least have some sort of plan beyond 2023. And if Ngakoue gets what Leonard Floyd got, right, or Frank Clark, which is going to be around $7 to $8 million, I think he'd rather keep that money in the bank and roll it over to next year because he already got his Yannick Ngakoue. Now, I can also use the same logic for DeAndre Hopkins, where do you need DeAndre Hopkins? No. I think Yannick Ngakoue is just the defensive end of the defensive counterpart to DeAndre Hopkins, where, sure, this team doesn't necessarily need that player, but if you want to go through the gauntlet that is the AFC, you can never have too many pass rushers. So what do you guys think? Should the Browns sign Ngakoue? I'm going to pass ultimately. I want to see Zadarius Smith and Okoronkwo, the moves you've already made, pan out a little bit before you kind of bog down the edge rusher room even more so. Now, if an injury were to occur, that'll change things. But for now, I think I'm going to draw the line with what the Browns have at pass rushers and keep it at that and not completely and solely sell out for the pass, because last year, the kryptonite for this defensive line was run stopping. And Zadarius Smith and Yannick Ngakoue are not uberly interested in 1st and 10 run stopping plays. Before we get on out of here, pick a card time here. Producer Jack Lauderay behind the camera. Jack, what card do you want to go with?
Give me 4 of hearts.
I love the confidence. 4 of hearts. I will go with the 10 of diamonds. One last cut for good measure. 5 of diamonds. Kind of in between the two ones we said right there. Oh, that's far. That's not far off. Okay. That is it for today's edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. We will see everyone later.